it's Shirzad. Welcome to part 3 of the destruction tutorials. In this video I will show you how to finalize your simulation, and also instead of having a collision running through the house, we want to explode the house using a point force, and it will look like an explosion, carpet bombing or something like that. And maybe we will have some Phoenix simulation, I'm not sure, it depends on how much people like the results or also subscribe to my channel. Probably I'll create more content from now because I didn't know I'll get this much subscribers. It's not a lot, but it's a lot for me. So if you want to see more contents for Max, especially for Max, consider subscribing to my channel. And let's get started. For this part I've simplified the scene. We have only 3 different sources: the roof, the structure, and also the wooden tiles around the house. This way we can easily implement what we have learned from part 1 and part 2, and after that you can simply go and add windows, glasses, and the door we had, and have more complex simulations. Also, I would love to see your results. You can share them on my Discord channel, the link is in the description, or if you are sharing it on Twitter, Instagram or Facebook, just tag me. I would love to see your results. And let's get started by the most important part of the house, which is the structure. So let's hide all other parts and keep the structure. Create a TyFlow node. I'll just set it up in a way that you can see both 3ds Max and TyFlow window. And simple stuff as always. Birth object, select your structure, you can hide it now, move the TyFlow node to the destruction layer, keep it clean, and first element fracture. After this Voronoi fracture, and I want my tiles and fracture to have a nice clean cut along the length of the tile, so something like this, but it doesn't work for all of them because they have different orientations. So let's add rotation node, unchecked shape orientation, put it on oriented bounds, and also in the Voronoi we have to decrease the length. In the pivot, if we rotate it, maybe this is the axis, you should find the correct axis, which is this one. Yes, this one is enough, I think. Yeah, to get started, this one is enough. Let's keep it simple. And physics shape, as always. The cut is coming from Voronoi from TyFlow, so we won't have any intersections. And if you had, you can go to the start penetrations and put it on sticky or ignore. Sticky will look better, but this one doesn't have any intersections, so let's keep it this way. And uncheck the display collision. What I want to have here is to have a bind, physics bind. This bind will be specific to the wood structure. You can show bindings, go to wireframe, or put it in a brighter color so you can see it. I think a number like 5 will be better. We need a strong structure. Let's keep this one like this and copy what we have and paste. You can disable these to increase the speed. And this time, instead of the structure, I will add the wall units like this. We can also simulate a few frames to see how it looks. You can go ahead and change the physics bind to the joint if you want to have more complicated simulation. Probably it's heavier for the simulation, so maybe you want to ignore it, I'm not sure. Maybe ignore it just for the testing and then add it later. Make sure you have the constraint braking enabled by force and also by angle. Maybe 15. And we have one more, which is our ceramic units, roof units. Let's name them, rename them. This one is the structure. This one is the wall. And this one is the roof. So we know all the nodes and what they do. Okay, here, let's remove, first of all, remove the Voronoi fracture, remove the rotation. We don't need these, we just need to replace the source with the roof units. And let's simulate it. Not this many frames. Okay. Go to bind. This one will be blue. Hide this. Yeah, it's a simple simulation, but if I simulate a few frames, you might see some intersections and exploding because we have some intersections of the physics shape. If you check it, we have it. So let's go to sticky. You see that one just went back to its position. Okay, now if I enable what we have here, we have 3 different materials, and we can also go and change the colors. Why did they choose the same color? Something like this. Okay. Also, maybe I want to disable points display. Okay. I need to bind these together. They have no connections, but the way we want to do that is first add everything to one event with send out. Like this. If I simulate a few frames. Okay, everything seems to be working fine, but we have no connections between different materials. The thing we learned from part 2. So to do that, I need to have something called custom properties. Add these custom properties after your physics shape and bind. And let's name this one. This one is structure. The structure needs to be bind to the wall wooden tiles, not the units, because this one is between the structure and the units. So the structure will be bind to the wooden tiles, and the wooden tiles will be bind to the units. So to simplify it, for the channel, I'll use structure to wall and keep the value of 0 for it, 0, and drag and drop it here. Make sure it's copied and put the value of 1. Remember, you have to have the same name but different values. And now let's have another custom properties inside this one. Let's actually drag and drop it by using shift, so we have a copy of it. And this time is the bind between wall and roof, so let's name it wall to roof. And this one, the value will be 0. Shift and drag it for here. I don't know why my shift doesn't work, maybe I'm not pressing it, I'm not sure. And the value of the second one will be 1. The first one is 0, second one is 1. Remember, you just need different values to bind them together. And here we want to have 2 different binds, physics binds. And this one, I think I'll go with glue for both of them to keep it simple. And what I have to do is to enable clustering, select structure to wall, and cluster if match has different values. I'll put it on this and let's sim it and show the connection and bindings. Go to wireframe. If I go close, of course we need color that's more visible, like white. Remove the connections. This is the connection from structure to wall, so it's all around the house like this. It's fine, I'll keep it like this, but make sure it's breakable because we want to explode it, so the breakable should be enabled. Now drag it again, create a new one, and this one will be the binding between the wall to roof. Show bindings, show connections, and it's like, can disable the connections to see the bindings much better. Like this, and this one as well should be breakable, which is enabled because we copied it. This one is structure to wall, and this one is wall to roof. Like this. I would also like to go to the structure binds and enable them, and also bind it to ground. I want to keep it attached to the ground so we can destroy it without throwing the whole house in some random directions. So this one will be better. Now simulate a few frames to see the results. It seems it's stable. I just see some small flickering here. Probably there's no bind here, or we can go to the structure binding and put that one as well on the, where is it, in the penetration, the shape, and put it on sticky. Probably this will solve the issue. It's better now, and the only thing left to do is to add some points to have a force of destruction. Let's disable what we have here and enable the source, because I want to decide where I want to have my explosion. Let's create a birth. Start is the most important one. I just want it for 1 frame, and let's have it on frame 10. And the amount is 1 point, and the position is based on position icon. Create one, put put it here and use pivot to make sure it's gonna be inside this one. Frame 10. Yes, it's there, but you can't see it. Let's put it on a large dot, make it big, and also a better color as always. Okay, this one will be the point that's gonna destroy our house, and you can go and put it wherever you want and play with the point values to make the house stronger, weaker, or try to reach the look you are looking for. And now I want to have a particle group, and this particle group you can go to export group or go to simulation group. Probably export group will be safer, and put it on something like P, for example, and let's drag it into the simulation. And here what I want to do is to delete the point based on particle age, and I want to have it like for 2 frames. Maybe 1 frame is safer because it's gonna affect itself as well. It's gonna move, and not itself, if we have different particles it will affect on the whole group and it's gonna throw them away. And you probably don't understand what I'm saying unless you see it. But if I have a point force on a particle here and this particle is gonna move like this, it's gonna have a trail effect, which is not exactly what we want. So let's put it for 1 frame here. It's gonna destroy it immediately. But we need to select the particle, which is based on export group of P. So this one only deletes that, not the whole house here. Also, I want the point force, the most important one. To keep it simple, maybe I ignore the roof, I ignore the wall, I ignore the structure. Not the structure is the most important one. So let's keep the structure and go to the point force. In the filter, do the same, because the point force is only for this point, not for every other point, which is the whole structure. Again, export groups and P. This is what I want to have force on top. So add a big force, maybe bigger than this, to make sure it's gonna break the bindings. Hide the sources, and the radius must be bigger than this, maybe even bigger. So let's have it. Let's change the time from 10 to 0 for now. Yes, like this. It's a big number, it seems. Let's put it on 1. Structure is not breakable. That's why it does that weird thing. So the radius is a lot, the force is a lot as well. Okay, that's good, but let's change the position of the point higher, like this. Move it higher. Yeah, this is good, but it's still a lot. Less force, or maybe not this. Less radius. You can see this one is really low, so 10. Should play with this number until you get to a point that you like the simulation result. But make sure you have different materials, more materials and more bindings, so it's gonna look different when you have everything on. So it's kind of necessary to have a few simulation to make sure everything works. The hardest part of the simulation, probably you just have to find different values and simulate it and see the results. Now, for now, we have different bindings and the explosion, it's not even there, so we need more force here. Yes, it looks fine. Let's put 1500 for the radius. Oh, that's a different number. Why I'm doing that? Probably I've been playing with the wrong number here, but this one is the radius. And also we can have noise, which is great for the simulation. You can always have some noise. But there's something that you can add here, because currently the points are going too fast and it doesn't look realistic. What you can do is to add a limit. It's called limiter operator, and enable the velocity, and let's keep the number it does have by default and see if it changes anything. I think it looks good for the scale we have. Yeah, maybe it's even a lot. Let's allow the particles to move a little bit faster, because it doesn't let the structure to get destroyed. Just play with this value until you're happy with the results. And let's cover one more thing, maybe more than one, because I need to have some debris, but you know how to add the debris. I just don't want to make the tutorial too long, but maybe you have. Okay, let's keep it like this for now. I'll play with the results and save the latest result for you as a project file of this tutorial. But what I want to do now is to have some debris based on what we learned from part 1. So the way it works is just go to Voronoi fracture, go to fractures, put a number, for example 8 for the cap material ID, and also for the wall and fractures put 8. You can, if you want to have different chunks, different debris, you can add different values and have different flows. I just want to keep it simple for now. You can also go and add some fracture to the units. Let's have it. 3 points, 3 pieces per unit probably is enough, more than enough. And same value as well, but you can have different values. What I want to do here is what we have to do is a mesh, which is not render only. So now we can select what we have or add to a new node. Let's name this one TyFlow A, and let's create a new one, and let's name it TyFlow B. Okay, we can even move it here, and this one is gonna be a birth of 20,000 to 100,000 frames, particles, and let's have a few frame of simulation for the first one because we need it. Okay, and here let's use position object and click on the simulation. It's because we have this mesh, we are able to pick it as a source, as a object or collision for the new one. Let's have that, and also a bind to object, so object bind as well. Let's pick it again, and here let's lock it to surface. Let's put the sample on face only, so it's gonna attach everything to the faces instead of vertices, because you can see there are some offsets here, but when you're on the face they will be on the surface. Okay, this is good. Let's pick a brighter value as always, and what I want to do here is to add a speed operator. Probably we should disable what we have for now, and let's put the timing on continuous because I want to calculate this. Magnitude on verlet and direction on verlet as well. So we have speed. Now we need property test, and the property test will be on differential magnitude. Probably is the best number. If it's greater than 5 or something like this, you can test it and feed it to a new event. Let's make it large points so we can see the results and enable it. Yes, so you can see when we have a value more than 5 here, it's gonna feed and change it to another event. I think putting this one on face made it slower. Yeah, let's keep it on vertices for now, and when we are done with it we can go back and put it on face. And what I want to have here is a collision, and the collision is the mesh again, but it's gonna change the look of the simulation because it's gonna inherit the velocity of the mesh. So we can play with this value. For example, bounciness, I want maybe 5. You can even go with 1. Don't put 0 for these kind of values, but you can go lower than that. Friction, maybe 10. And the most important one is the inheritance, which is 95, I think, is good. And also a big variation, like 40%. So if you check this, you will have big variations of the inheritance value. It looks much better now. And also put the shape, put it on 3D. Obviously go to frame 0 or disable simulation, and let's select broken glass chunk, or even have your own meshes if you want, but for me is good enough. Let's put it on geometry, like this so we can see them, and disable wireframe, go to shape, make them bigger, 10 times bigger, and have more variations. Let's sim it. Yeah, it's a lot, and the first thing you will notice is the orientation of them. So just simply add a rotation node here, and it's on random 3D, which is good enough. I think it's a very big number, so let's decrease it. Try different values, different numbers, until you get a good result. Okay, what we want to have here now is to add some forces and more collisions. Let's disable it, and let's add another collision. This one is only to have the ground collision, and because I want to have 0 bounciness, 1, actually not 0, and a little bit more friction, because I didn't have enough friction on the meshes. I want to have different collision for the ground, like this, and also a force, which is only to have the gravity here. So when we have these points, they will go down and collide with the ground. Can disable the other points. Like this. And maybe to keep it or make it more advanced, copy it, split what you have, around 12% of it, send it to, send it to other event, keep this one small, like 150, and keep these a little bit bigger, and let's see it. Yeah, now we have more variations. Let's pick a better color. Like this. Now you can also come back here, copy this, paste it, have a different icon, or copy this one. Enable the sources so you can see where you want your explosion to happen. Let's put it in the roof because I want to destroy that one really bad. So in the position icon, change it to the new one you just made, like this, and simply send it back to the event, and make sure you have different timings for it. Let's start this one on frame 10, and let's have the second explosion on frame maybe 40. And also, if you want to have more fracture, more pieces, it's time now. You can just increase the values. Don't go crazy because your system gonna explode. Let's simulate 100 frames. This one is enabled and good to go, and this one is enabled now. So let's see what we have. Before that, I'm pressing escape and save it. Always save before going for a simulation. And let's hide the sources. It's gonna simulate the second solver. Okay, I think it looks good. Oh, that's so strong.